Welcome to the space, the sanctuary, hopefully, that our divine threads will provide for you, for me. Because to be honest, this is for me as much as it is for you, even if it's, in a sense, the past me, which I feel when we are someone who creates and then knows that it needs to be heard by others simply because it is being channeled through you. So therefore the universe wants to express it. You are the vessel that has been chosen to express that thing. Um that my past self that I've been in this lifetime needed this kind of space. So I'm trying to maintain that memory, but coming into this a second time and trying to continue this, and I know I will consistently show up for this because it just feels like something so easy to me. Whereas that has not necessarily always been an ease of mind being consistent or whatever. I am in now a place ready to give to that past self of mine. But I am also more wary that it's going out onto the internet or other people are going to see it, or the first time felt just so much more like blah, here it is, and now I'm like, oh, I want a structure and a format. So for the time being, the general structure that I'm going to have is just like this welcome moment. Maybe set the tone a little in differences depending on the day and the week, because I don't like it to be too bound to anything when life changes all the time. And then I would like to quicker get to the card, mainly so that then through the music that I will play at the same time as the time it takes for the card to speak to me about what it is that it needs, its message that it holds, you then have a space and time, not too long after the videos began, to just be, or meditate, or listen to the music, whatever it is that is helpful for you. Because first and foremost, as much as I hope there are words or symbols or messages within this, sorry, there were two butterflies that I was called to wear today as well, speaking of symbols. It's attached to a rose quartz, by the way. I do want it more so to provide space in which you are reminded, and there is somewhat a person in front of you being accountable and reminding themselves continuously, and that becomes easier, just like working any muscle, that my existence is not only that which is tangible. I am a light being. I am a energy, an intangible energy that is currently hosting the vessel that has been named Megan because of the flip of a coin. The other option was Anna. Any hoops. I'm also aware that, like, there's just a multitude of information about past lives or what happens after death and all that kind of stuff, and I'm really not here to define and tell you what it is, because I think that that is very much beautifully subjective. Like, sure, there could be a definitive thing that one could say, but I also think that one of the things we forget sometimes in the human form when we want and need for certain information is that we are each individually the universe exploring existence through now the human form. And there's many a form that we may have taken in any other galaxy or planet, or this planet specifically. There's already a multitude of different ways to experience life. And then there's each individual perspective, which within like the species that I currently can speak from the perspective of being humans. Therefore, there really isn't like a right or wrong way to imagine what it is that occurs before or after life in this body. I think that spending too much time on that, though, is in a sense yet another distraction from being in the moment, and that seems to be one of the biggest challenges of the universe living its life as a human through the human form. But yeah, that's just my take on it. So here is, I should mention as well, I have a Reiki level 2 practitioner, I do have an understanding of the energy that I am outputting. So I will know that you are safe in that way. However, I am going to wipe the space between us with the selenite bar and then leave it down there. I don't know, to reassure safe energy for you, hopefully. Anyway, here we are. Now, also in presence, there is Chrysocolla. Pretty sure that's the say, but it's helped me on some major journeys, mostly inward ones, because the outward ones I'm very good at. I'm Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Mercury. And then to this side of the screen, there is a chestnut that kind of yelled at me to pick it up, to be perfectly honest. Amongst all of the other natural things that are on the ground, that a tree had dropped in Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris. Okay, so these being the ones I have not communed with yet. These being the ones that I have. It's a thinner pile. It was taking me a while. I knew that I needed to sit with each of these individually and ask them what it was that they came to me to say, because like I had mentioned in the last episode video, at the times that I was picking these up, I did not understand or know about numerology or like signs in that way. Over the years, because so many of them, like randomly, one by one, always, I would never pick it up when there was like a whole deck that was dropped by somebody that was like oh, okay, no, that's an entire. You'd be surprised how many times people drop decks of cards, by the way, in city centers. Anyway, these I only ever picked up when there was one individual one. One of them is like A for ants, and then there is a Colonel Mustard up in here. Oh, there's A. They're solo cards. So, how I saw it is basically the universe, until I had an understanding of my own consciousness as a being, because it just feels like while that was the goal for my existence for a while, now that I am aware of that, what do I do with that is the next part. And these videos are a stepping stone towards the next thing and the next thing. It's continually developing and understanding, and it's just exciting. Also, you know, a practice in like, I don't have to know where it's going, but I absolutely trust and have faith in existence and the universe and angels and whatever it is that one then places more specific wording about on the intangible and energies. So yeah, these are the cards that I have not yet spoken with or allowed to speak to me, basically. And that is what I'm going to start these videos with. And we'll go from there. So, because these are difficult to shuffle, because they're like in a bit of a state, you can't, no, it's, you know, they're pretty because they're alive, but they're not smooth. Oh, here's a fun one. Is that it? Yeah. So this is a back and a front that got separated, and then I picked this up in lashing rain, like heavy water is now on the ground kind of rain on 14th Street between 3rd and 2nd Avenue in New York, on the left side, the north side of the road. Yeah. I literally scooped my finger under it whilst walking home. At the time I lived there for about 6 months, and it lay like this, like slopped over my finger. Oh, 10-10 when I said that slopped word. And then I let it dry. That is the dedication I have to this. If the card shows up, it's saying something. Okay, alright. I'm gonna get all distracted by the different ones in front of me now. Let's see who it is that wants to share. I'm spreading them all out in front of me, by the way, and we're just gonna see. Ah, are you stuck together? Oh, you have blue tack on you. Beautiful. Is it... Okay, which of these? Okay. 3 of spades. Now, I don't necessarily plan to have the numerology be specific to all of this, so, yeah. Take a minute now while I take one. we ready? Okay. Where's the, okay. The thing that I have wrapped around these, by the way, is silk. It's something that really helps to, okay. Protects tarot cards or any kind of card in their energy. I am actually really glad for this one that I had the selenite in between us. That was dark, to put it in a certain way, but like I couldn't stop like fidgeting. Like I wanted to release the energy from me, and to be honest, I started to realize like, oh, I like want to hate this card. Like it's bringing darkness into my life right now, and I'm angry at it for doing that. But it's also just like a part of experience, and I was aware I'm like safe. It's just an energetic thing that I am trying to ask about itself or whatever. And then also it's not like darkness is only ever one kind of thing. It wasn't empty, it was very full of emotions, and it feels more like the kind of intensity and negative, sorry, the right words are, I want to allow that to occur. With the things that I wrote, I guess I could go to that. And it's like the kind of anger and darkness that one feels instead of feeling pain. Okay, so immediately when I held that card in both my hands, it was like this huge, like sea waves at nighttime. Not my favorite thing, just because it's terrifying. So that was like those waves went individually up each of my arms, like at me, right? Which I mean is interesting because the moon is currently in Cancer, and it just moved out of a full moon in Gemini, which is like dual beings and stuff. And I had picked this up in a bookshop that I was in, because not specifically, like it was just, oh, I want to go to a tarot event, and then I realized that there are like a dual being situation on the card. But yeah, there's like, anyway. And then there were 3 directions that it took, which I guess mirrors in its number 3 or whatever, but it was like the energy was trying to go into me, into like the center of me this way, and like go each out different directions, like this and then that, like it was trying to pull me apart, but was like not strong enough to actually feel like I was in any pain because it was doing that. It was kind of like when a child is trying to punch at you and like they're so little but they're just angry and in pain, and like that was the like Jesus, that was just a lot. Okay. So my hands were fidgety. Well, I am like such a massive writing right now. This is how it ended up looking. Wave huge came at me on my arms, 2 whooshing thick. Oh yeah. At one point there was like a big chunky trunk of a tree that was like, it wasn't being pulled back and forth or left and right. It was more like it was trying to shake something from it. But like a trunk that you wouldn't normally see be able to move in that sort of agility because it's like thick. Okay, so also something that it 100% brought up for me was a loss that I had to move through. And none of the cards would have come to me in that time, so it was more like I was able to recognize what was going on because of having gone through something like that. And it was, I'll explain that part after. I don't want to shadow this specific meaning with that. But it was a loss that I was grieving that I remember getting as conscious of like as I could of the feeling within me, because I was trying to cry out in the grief that I was feeling, and it was like the grief, the feeling I was trying to process was like behind me, and it was like so much energetically bigger than my tangible body is. And in my crying, I couldn't fully like fit the feeling through my body and process it out to the front, if that makes sense. um I know it'll make sense to whoever's actually experienced that kind of loss, so there's that. But yeah, that was what that felt like, where it's almost like a fear that you're never going to be able to process it. But what I will say, if anyone has ever felt that, or um comes up to a moment when you're feeling that and you haven't necessarily got your higher self or a spiritual team that you're aware of in that moment, because it was going through that grief which led me to know about my higher self, actually, and meet them for the first time, um very consciously too. You don't have to process it all in one go. It's going to take moment after moment, day after day, um and bit by bit it will be felt away, or it'll be felt and processed, and you will feel your way through it. But give yourself breaks in between. It's not for you to process all in one moment. But it is, if you feel this, good to be aware of that kind of energetic occurrence that you're maybe going through. And so be proud of yourself for even feeling that and allowing yourself to be aware of it, because most people would just run from ever trying to feel through something like that, or numb. Jesus, fucking like, oh yeah, that was the other thing. It was really weird because it was like so water and sea and like nighttime darkness related that I was so warm, and I'm like, why was sorry, I thought it was 2222. It was not 2322, but 2D2? 22. But it was so warm, and it was like I could feel this intensity of anger. So intense, and grief, and hard to, oh yeah, it's hard to take a whole breath. Like there was compression on my lungs. My hands were fidgeting. Hot on the inside, very specifically, like the way that you heat up because you're having such intense emotions, rather than it being that it is warm where you're at physically in space, right? More like in here. Back to, oh yeah, and then something came in the back of my neck, and I did not like that feeling whatsoever. It was very heavy, and it reminded me of a certain death that happened in Dream Team. This is going to be a very deep cut reference, but when that one person pushes someone else against a wall and there's a hook, and the hook goes like in the back of their head, and it's like such a freak accident, and it's something I didn't even know could fucking happen. That was intense to see, but it was like, nope, move away from that. Oh yeah, and then it was very, very heavy, like the way that grief would be, but not grounded. Like I felt this weight towards the floor, and I'm like, oh, okay, so are we like easily, nope, we're not grounded whatsoever. It's just like heavy and won't lift yet. Okay, and then I want to hate this card was the last thing that I wrote. So this is a bit of a different journey than the last time. And I guess know that there's also, I mean, I'm grieving a different thing than what it was that I was speaking about there. But we did have a death in my family. My granddad passed on the night, I believe, of like when it was my birthday turning into the next day, sort of a time. It's in a different time zone to me, so I'm not totally sure the when. But it's, oop. I noticed while I was writing about that specifically and journaling and expressing some things, it was like I kept yawning. It was also because I was trying to release stuff around the full moon, which was like also at the same time. And so these like yawning and burps, and it was like things internally were actually like activated to release through me, through the throat chakra out, as I was like releasing or crying or writing or whatever it is. And so I think now the two cards that I had pulled in preparation for it, because what I've decided is I kind of wanted to do a little reading about them, so I'm not sitting here like always exactly reading from a book, but I picked from the Gateway of Light Activation deck was what I felt called to pull from today for this, not knowing what it is that my synchronistic deck is what we're going to call this. No, Serendipitous deck. Sorry. Yeah, we're calling it the Serendipitous deck. Me and myself and I is the we we're talking about. And so not knowing what one was gonna, because I kind of want to maintain the keeping it on camera that I pulled that, so that it's like, I don't know. That's just what I want to do. Before, though, the last time I had pulled my own cards and it happened to have imagery that matched. So this is what I purposely pulled, asking it specifically to be for the collective for this interaction. And I got some cool pieces, and one of them I think is very much necessary now for this ending part. Seraphim's, it's really backwards. Seraphim's Gateway. Now, the imagery when I first saw this was something I felt like I had been seeing everywhere, specifically a pillar of light and all of these wings, and then these like circular shapes that are in the background, and these are such beautiful cards. But this is about voice activation, angelic attunement, and divine support. And that last one is a big part of what this card has to bring us with information today, because it is basically the energetic light, infinite light, divine light, finds a way to become a part continuously of the existence of those who chose to be humans in the moments that we're moving through currently as the universe. And they come in the form of angels, in the form of song, in the form of well, I guess humans as well, but I don't know enough specifically. It was like mentioning angels, and also if you ever wake up hearing your name being sung, this is the energy that is coming to visit you, and it is about divine guidance. It's about angelic support, and I would like to make specific at this time that anytime I mention angels, or archangels even, nothing to do with Christianity. Sure, they are a word in tandem with what it is that they used and abused through, like, the way they, yeah, you know. But for lack of other terms that really understand the divinity, the light, the otherworldliness of something that is intangible and is energy and is bringing guidance or a sign or anything that ever communicates with you, where you feel like, wow, that was a coincidence or synchronicity or however it is that you word it, it's always evidence and a reminder that you are not alone in that moment. Not in a creepy way, but in a way where you have support, and you're accepted for who it is you are exactly. These beings know you fully and love you anyway. It's not about bad or good. It's like you exist. You exist. And those who are actively trying to bring light and their word, which is what this kind of exact energy would be supporting to this world, have every support about that, because the shift that is occurring in consciousness, it is not easy work to live it in this current, I don't know, structure of human existence, of structure of human society. Like, sure, I could name it capitalism or patriarchy and all the things that go underneath that, ableism and racism and sexism and homophobia and transphobia, and like, we have words for these things, but in other words, they are generally just a rejection of anything that is wholly being joyful, wholly being itself, wholly loving itself, and as in holy, WHOLY, by the way. And, you know, I'm saying this as if any one person who's not all of underneath these, like, We have all of these energies throughout our being, regardless of our human form that we have taken in this life. So therefore, if you subscribe to anything that is rejecting others accepting themselves fully, that's not great. But it also reflects mostly that you're probably not accepting yourself fully. Because those who accept and love themselves unconditionally, which is a practice, you so easily bring that outwards then. And that's why I say so emphatically to people that self-acceptance, self-love, self-compassion it's divine. It's divine. It is like the work. It is the thing that will bring us forward and allow us to live in... Ooh, away! Ooh, the totally mares the next card! Ooh, that's fun. Okay, so this is Toth. Toth light codes. You may recognize this being from Egyptian teachings and such. This one I did want to read specifically out from it because I don't want to get it wrong. Basically, there was it's a powerful light initiation at this time. Is it in the way? Yes. So it's a time of releasing old and limiting ideas, and this is what Toth was actually bringing within their life. So I'll read the specific thing from the deck. Pronounced Toth, also known as Tahuti, is an ancient Egyptian ibis-headed god of writing, divine magic, and the moon. The full moon. Okay. Acknowledged as the sacred scribe who created writing, he is considered to be the great mind behind the hieroglyphics. They're saying he, I speak they. Anyway, and the maintainer of the Egyptian universe. It is said that the high priest king of he was the high priest king of Atlantis and was dedicated to leading the Atlantean people in a loving way that was firm but fair. However, no matter how he tried to direct them, many of them didn't obey the spiritual laws of the universe, which inevitably led to the end of their civilization. This gateway takes you to a space where you can connect with the energetic frequency that Toth carries. As a master teacher of the stars, he holds space for you to connect with some of your greatest gifts from this lifetime and the many others you've lived. Toth's primary teaching is spiritual integrity, and his working alongside a powerful congregation of evolved souls, the ascended Atlanteans, to guide those who are ready to increase their awareness. He specializes in helping those who are finding it difficult to make spiritual progress, to rise above the aspects of their life that are holding them back, and he helps awaken the teacher within them. Yeah, this is something I literally just heard in another person's reading where it was like, I was looking for, new energy. I find that there's different spiritual teachers or tarot readers that I find, and they have a message for me, and then maybe I follow them if I feel called, but like within a few months, because we continue to develop and change in our relationship to our spirituality or ascend or whatever. I understand the wording of ascend or leveling up, but I also don't love us as a species continuing to look at these things like they are some sort of linear progressive thing that you can track, because healing is not linear, living is not linear, experience is in no way linear. Like this I get it, because it'd be cool to have a little checklist and be like, okay, this is where I am on the level. But at all times, your energy is fluctuating and you're vibrating at different frequencies depending on your mindset and the things you're going through. And also you can't fault yourself for moving through things that are going to happen in your life that are of a lower vibrational frequency. Grief and loss and anger and things of that nature are a part of existence just as much as the positive things. Actually, here's a very good little quote for specifically understanding that, because what I started to realize was, okay, yes, I prefer to feel positive. It attracts, or in gratitude, it attracts manifestations easier and I feel better and stuff, but I also can't continue this practice of then being hard on myself for not being a high vibrational being when I need to feel negative feelings, because they are what has brought me here. They have taught me so much about myself, like both the negative and the positive, and the whole acceptance of all of that is what is important, whilst also maintaining I guess, a positive outlook or optimism, or which I have been massively blessed with all of the Sagittariusness. So I do feel called to give as much as possible when I am able to. So when I am able to is a very key part of that. So here's the quote: peace does not mean to be free of conflicts. Peace is the ability to handle them. It's not the quote that I was going to read out for today, but it felt like necessary after the other things. Okay. So I'm feeling this coming to a close. And I think I will leave it mostly at that. But I'm also feeling called to remind you, without this chestnut, I would not have found the exact grave that I was looking for. That will matter, be understood more to people that like understand it already. I put it in my pocket. When I was holding it, I felt a hell of a lot more like I knew where I was going in the graveyard. Like it decided to be somewhat of a guide within that space, especially because like literally I walked to this graveyard to go be a part of it because I said that I wanted to do it on my birthday. It was raining on my birthday, so I was like, all right, I go the next day and I want to, see the moon over it. And I didn't get to do that because they make you leave before it gets dark, which is fair. It's a very large grounds. However, it was also right at the time that I had learned that shout out to Arthur Kinsley, rest in peace, rest in love. Yeah. Had passed. And so I was actually walking through a graveyard, like tears running down my face. And I went to a store before it I was like, I want snacks. I'm going to be here for, I guess, like a little while. Like, I want wine more than anything. I wanted red wine. A little bit because that is a drink that I would have shared with Granddad. But also because that's what I wanted to get. I knew I could get like a little bottle of it. I picked it up in the supermarket and I got 2 pain au chocolat. I was just gonna get one because I didn't feel the need for more than that. But then I felt like, no, get a second, so I did. And then I guess I'm gonna close with the story of that day. But yeah, I walked in and I found this guy like right after I kind of had cried and released a bit whilst walking because it just like hit me of, I knew it was gonna happen, but I didn't know in what way because I'm crying in front of people or whatever, and like it being the middle of the day, and I didn't know how it was gonna go. I knew it was gonna be hard, but I also knew that it was a necessary thing. Like it was just what I needed to move through. Because not knowing and also feeling through the negative, I am just so massively grateful for both of those pieces of experience more today than I've ever been before in my entire existence, because I'm starting to realize that they are just like the waves that we come across on the sea of life in a way. And so I got to where I was like on a map following like, oh, this is going to be where Jim Morrison's grave is. This is where Oscar Wilde's grave is going to be. Those are the 2 that I was like, I want to see. Also Gertrude Stein, but like I was nearest to hers or theirs. So I went, the map that I had, I don't know what it was fucking telling me at all. It did not lead me to, I didn't find any of those graves via that map. Ooh, 4004 when I was talking. And yeah, I was like, fuck this map. I'm going to open up, actually pulled this guy out and was like, okay, what do we do? Okay, we're just going to put Jim Morrison's grave into Google Maps and make it show me the way. Because I was looking at like a map that they have of all the sections, and then you'd walk around each numbered section or division. And I was getting just a little, and I'm like, oh God, it's about to be time of close. Like, I want to see this before I leave. And sure, I could come back another day, live here now, but still. It was just a lot of the day that was in it that I'm like, no, this is today. This happens today. I'm meeting this graveyard version of Jim Morrison now, because he has been just like quite the guide for me. In a way of like the cards, they showed up before I was fully aware of certain connections that I have to existence because I'm a part of existence. Like, there wasn't an acid trip for a long time that I would go through without putting the doors on. I'm like, no, they are my guides, 4114. And this will most likely be different times, by the way, to when I actually edit it on because of the way that it jumps when you put an intro in. So I am going to say those out loud so that in case they're helpful to people or they're also being shown to you. I'm also seeing a lot of 222s, 44, like that recently. And Google Maps led me fucking straight there. 4141. And then, dear me. And I got there and no one else was there. And like, oh, there is barriers that are like keeping you maybe like a meter or two away. I'd say it's about 5 feet, maybe 6 feet, anyway, whatever, away from the actual gravesite itself. But there's all these flowers. I have a question. Who and when are you able to get to the grave that people are putting flowers there? And a lit candle was great for that because I kind of wanted to bring a lit candle, being that I was around so many spirits and, you know, a grave site and everything, or cemetery. And there was a lit candle there, so that was beautiful. And then, you know, I put my chestnut back in and I said, okay, thank you very much for helping me to find this. And I spent some time there and then I realized, like, oh my God, the wine is like, so I poured out some for him and then I drank some for myself and then, poured out more a little while later and drank some more and just like stood there with my eyes closed to allow imagery and the things that was going on. And I felt the most beautiful, huge wings that it was like I didn't have an awareness of before that moment, or like I've felt in different ways, but these were like the most steadfast versions of them, like the mast of a ship kind of fucking there. And now I walk around remembering that they are on my back, meaning that my posture changes and my energy changes and the way that I walk through this world changes. There were other things, but I'm going to keep those for myself. And so because I wasn't able to like get straight up to that, and I'm not going to like, you know, go through the barrier and be disrespectful of the space that they've created around this, I kissed the rose. Someone had left a pink, beautiful, and it smelled really good as well, rose just like in the barriers. Oh yeah, before I had kissed the rose, wasn't it, or after? Before that, I took out one of my cigarettes, put that on the ground so he could have one as well, and the second or first, whatever, the other pan au chocolat went out. And so that was for, they were my offerings, so to speak. Kissed the rose and then left. And then as I walked out, so many crows, so many fucking crows were in the trees above me. And it was like, as I kept walking, they would fly and just be like in the trees above me, chattering like a whole bunch. And I started to realize, I'm like, oh, I want to know what they're saying, or like, what am I feeling like they're saying? But then because I'm like conscious and wanting to know, it almost like brings you out of the moment of actually feeling the energy of what maybe is being communicated to you. And it wasn't until later that day that hopefully this helps someone with this kind of thing. Just the fact that I was aware they were communicating to me, to this space that I currently was inhabiting at the same time as them, after all of this beautiful synchronicity and like comfort had happened in such a dark moment as well. Just the fact that they were communicating is a sign, is enough, right? I don't necessarily have to know yet exactly what it is their words may have been, or, you know, because I feel like we can get a little seeking for the definitive, so that we know for sure, and we all have different relationships with control and wanting to do a good job or whatever the fuck it is. But that was my way of, that was a moment of growth for me massively. So yeah, I think I will leave y'all with that for now. Oh, I guess I will read out that last quote because I really like this one. This is just a process of, came on a tea bag. I'm so blessed or grateful for this. Okay. Do first what is necessary, then what is possible, and suddenly you manage the impossible. Yeah. Do first what is necessary, then what is possible, and suddenly you manage the impossible. Which I feel like is just very grounding when you feel a little like that. Which life hands us that feeling every once in a while. Okay. That brings us to a close. Let us clear this energy upwards now. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Thank you so much for being a part of this life and engaging with the video, of course. Take care. I love you.